Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Hopefully you all had a fantastic weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. If that's the case, we appreciate you making us a part of your start, whether you are listening on the good old radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You've got your smart devices like your Alexa speakers. Also got the Wisco Sports app. You can download that. Take it on the go. Also stream it up on YouTube as well. So multiple different ways for you to be tuning in. We've got that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. And, of course, the Section 105 chats. That's already got Bo chiming in there. Good morning to Bo over there. But, again, hopefully you had a awesome weekend, just like the Brewers had a pretty darn good weekend. What's on our game plan for us this morning? Brew Crew taking 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers, dropping Friday night's game, but picking up a win behind Jacob Mizorowski and a couple home runs from Ortiz and Contreras on Saturday. And then yesterday in the narrative matchup between Logan Henderson and Tarek Skubal, it was the Brewers picking up another win to secure the series finale. Logan Henderson dominating yesterday, and the Brewers able to hand Skubal his 7th loss on the season. Not only was it great pitching, but Brewers battling with some injuries, Terang not playing, shuffling around the order. I mean, Contreras batting leadoff yesterday, guys all over the place, and Brewers able to grind through and pick up this series win and finish that 17-game stretch. They go 10-7 in that stretch. A well-deserved off day today here for the Brewers before they're back at it tomorrow, taking on the Seattle Mariners. But overall, I mean, I think when you factor in everything with some of the injuries and trying to plug in some spots and looking at who they went up against, I would say it was a pretty darn successful season, or pretty darn successful weekend, for the Brew Crew. So Brewers right now still with the best record in the National League. By the way, it still pays me to say this, but thank you, Cardinals, too, for taking down the Cubbies here a little bit. So, but the Brewers will be opening up this week when we look at where things stand as we are into the final quarter of this regular season. Brewers opening up with a 77-48 record, the best record in Major League Baseball. Braves have 74-50. You got the Dodgers now 74-51, and then the Tampa Bay Rays, the only team in the American League with over 70 wins, 74-49. So plenty to recap here with the Brewers and Major League Baseball coming up here in just a little bit as we'll lead off this morning here, catching up with the Brew Crew. Speaking of which, baseball-wise, got to give a quick shout-out locally to the Tilden Tigers and the Whitehall Whitetails, both securing state championships in the Wisconsin Baseball Association state tournament this past weekend. Tilden taking down River Falls, and then Whitehall repeating as state champions. So a big tip of the cap to both of those CRBL, Chippewa River Baseball League teams here too. Speaking of a little local baseball, we'll wrap up the Eau Claire Express season when we catch up with owner Craig Toyson in the 9 o'clock hour. So Craig will be joining us to look back at this very successful Eau Claire Express season now that we are a few days removed from their loss in the postseason, just one game away from advancing to the Northwoods League Championship. So we'll kind of put a bow on the Eau Claire Express season with Mr. Toyson coming up at 9 o'clock here this morning. We'll chat some football as well. Packers preseason continues, training camp continuing. They're back at practice, and lots to kind of catch up on from the last couple days. And then maybe the bigger storyline here is Keyshawn Nixon. He chatted a little bit with the media, but essentially Keyshawn Nixon is not guaranteed a starting role with the Packers, and Nixon making some comments in the locker room yesterday saying, quote, "I guess I'm being punished right now. I guess. I don't know. I don't really worry about what I'm running in camp, ones or twos. I just keep my process and just compete for real. I don't view myself in no competition. I've come here to compete for myself. What they do and what they choose, that's out of my control. I can only control what I can control." So we'll go through some more comments that he had to say yesterday. Tucker Kraft returning to 11 on 11 yesterday, too. So good to see tight end number 1 back on the field doing team drills for the Packers. So, but lots of Packers chat as we get set for the second preseason game coming up here, too, going up against the Denver Broncos. So we got some Packers chat on here. It is a VFW post at 3:05, best and worst from the weekend. So if you want to make your picks for best and worst from the weekend, please do so. Hit us up, all right? You can text them on over or give us a shout and on the Section 105 chat room, too. So what is the best and what is the worst from the weekend for you? That's kind of your game plan for us this morning. Heavy on some Brewers, heavy on some baseball, and we'll fill it in with some Packers training camp updates too. So let's get things going. We got Justin joining us here as well in just a skosh. So let's take our first break, and then we'll get the leadoff going here. Looking back at this series win against the Dodgers for the Brewers. Looking back at Friday's loss, Saturday's win, Sunday's win, overall series too, because it was a 4-game series going back to Thursday's game. Let's recap it all and maybe kind of start to preview the final quarter of this regular season here for the Brew Crew. Quick break, and we'll get things going here on the leadoff after these few words. Going on today only, our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire have got their one-day sale where you can earn 20 cents off per gallon with every $40 purchase. So if you still need to do maybe some grocery shopping for the week, or maybe you need to get some quick meals or snacks for the kiddos, and you want to save a little bit of money at the gas pump, it's the one-day only sale going on at Hy-Vee, where if you spend $40, you'll earn 20 cents off per gallon. That's why we always say make sure you are following the Hy-Vee in Eau Claire Facebook page for their one-day sales, 3-day sales, events, because they've got a ton of events always going on too, or just checking out what the weekly flyer is. So go check it out. Make sure you're following the Hy-Vee in Eau Claire Facebook page so you can stay up to date on their on all of their sales. Hey, quick note too, just a little PSA. No program tomorrow because this time tomorrow I'll be on the road to Green Bay to cover Packers training camp. So if you got any legit questions I should ask, because Goody is going to be doing a presser I'll be at, Matt LaFleur, locker room questions. So if you got any good ones that you think I should ask, send them on over. I might steal it and use it for tomorrow. But just a quick note, and then we will be doing the program Wednesday morning from Green Bay. So just throwing that out there for all of you. But before we get things going here, let's say good morning to Justin. Justin, how are you?
I'm good.
You had a good weekend?
I did.
Yeah?
I did. It was fun watching the Brewers take it to the Dodgers a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we can nitpick some things here, but with all things considered, when you factor in Bryce Terang was out, all the injuries, trying to plug in some spots. I mean, when you have a lineup of Andrew Vaughn at third, Gary Sanchez at first, Jake Bowers in right field, and whoever they could just pluck to play second base, and you come away with some W's and you win 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers, you take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I mean, that was fantastic.
Yeah. No Cooper Pratt, no Frelick, who I know he's been out for a while, no Uribe out of the pen, no Terang, like you said. You know, you're kind of using stitch work of Jonathan, or is it Ornelas?
Yeah.
And Ji-Hwan Bae, and, taking 3 or 4 from them.
And essentially no Yelich.
Yeah, pretty much.
And at least Contreras started to kind of get out of his slump a little bit for this weekend series too. So, but I mean, in Dodgers, by the way, notice like how empty Dodger Stadium was for these games?
Yeah.
I was like, I had to like double check, like, okay, am I seeing this right? So I did a Twitter search, see if other people were talking about it, and they're like, yeah, it was for a series with two of the best in the National League to see how empty it was. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, you hear, you kind of, at least, on the internet, you kind of hear things about the Dodgers fans being like social media fans or fake fans, and it almost makes you wonder, do these people, because apparently they said attendance was 35,000 yesterday, which it did not look like it at all.
Yeah.
You wonder if people do just buy a ticket, go for the first inning or so, post something for, status or whatever, and then leave.
Yeah.
Because I swear I see more people on a Brewers day game on like a Thursday day game.
Right?
At AmFam. It was a Thursday, like 1:00 game against the Giants. It was packed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at Dodger Stadium and it looked somewhat empty.
Yeah.
On a Sunday.
Like I saw it behind home plate. I'm like, okay, maybe, expensive seat. But then you see the outfield bleachers and there was like hardly anybody in there too. It was unbelievable. I don't know if it was just like you said, maybe they had a really good giveaway and then people collected and left or something on Sunday. I have no idea, but I was like, holy cow. But hey, not going to apologize for that because Brewers, I mean, where do we even begin with this? I mean, just, kind of grinding it through and getting these. I mean, what a response after getting swept by the Padres to go into Dodgers Stadium for 4 games and, going back to that Thursday game, picking up that come-from-behind victory against Edwin Diaz in the 9th, falling a bit short on Friday night, but then The Miz showing why he's Jacob Mizorowski, Contreras getting that 2-run home run, Joey Ortiz with the 2-run home run. That was enough and then with that game, too, with bases loaded, 1 out, and you have Ohtani and Freeman up, and Mizorowski just goes, K, see you later. And then, of course, the narrative matchup with Logan Henderson and Skubal. Logan Henderson, probably his best start of his career. Hey, we were kind of wondering if that was going to be the case, because we're all human, right? You're going to be a little amped up and probably a little extra motivated to showcase why the Brewers didn't want to give you up. And, well, I think he showcased that yesterday, too.
Oh, he 100% did. And it's poetic that it was against Skubal, too.
Yep.
Because I know Henderson was the name that the Tigers were apparently, kind of asking for. And the Brewers, rightfully so, told them no. And, 7 innings, 3 hits, only 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. And the only run was off of a home run.
Yeah.
He doesn't give that up. Nothing.
Right.
And then, Skubal, he just Skubal gave up a lot more traffic.
Yes.
And I know one of those runs was unearned, but still counts for the Brewers.
Still counts and still counts for in the loss column for Skubal. But outside of him, Jake Bauers had a day yesterday. 4 hits, 5 times on base with a walk. Jackson Churio picking up 3 hits yesterday too. So timely hitting, and especially with 2 outs. It was like when Jake Bauers was coming up and to kind of break it open there too. So. Just Jake Bauers, the guy who kind of after the Padres series said we need to chill, kind of chill out offensively. And those words worked because that Brewers offense was able to do enough and led by Jake Bauers, who has easily been one of the biggest nice surprises so far for this Brewers team this year.
He pulled the Rogers relax and then backed it up. So
he absolutely did.
It's been wonderful seeing him this season.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder too, with all these injuries and the subpar play of a Yelich, where would this team be without a Jake Bauers so far this year, who's hitting 275 and 21 home runs and 70 RBIs, which are fair to say those are the numbers we expect from Yelich, right? Those are the type of numbers that we expect from somebody like him, and at least Bauers is the guy that's doing it for this team this year. But, Brewers fans, how would you describe this weekend series here for the Crew? You can let us know. Mark says maybe Disneyland was running a special that their fans went to and instead. So, but I could not, because you darn well know if that was Milwaukee, that place would have been packed. And I don't even want to get into a difference between LA and Milwaukee and city-wise, but I'm just like from a fan support thing, that place would have been AmFam. Good luck probably getting a ticket, for a decent price, especially when you got Miz in one game and then Tarek Skubal and Logan Henderson in another.
Well, I remember, was it last year? Miz versus Skeens.
Yeah.
It was like Wednesday, 1:00.
Yeah.
And I swear it was sold out. You saw it on TV. There was not an open seat.
No.
So yeah, that AmFam would have been packed all weekend for sure.
Absolutely. So did it make a difference? I don't know, but still something just like, that was, maybe that's just the Dodger fan base kind of being spoiled a little bit too. So they kind of, have those expectations. I don't know, but regardless, you've got a Brewers team that is 77-48, best record in Major League Baseball, and getting it done with subpar play from some of their players, all the injuries, which, by the way, Pat Murphy did say after the game yesterday that he is expected to be back in the lineup coming up with this Mariners series, so that's a good thing. Because I think anytime you hear knee injury, MRI, second opinion, you start to get worried. But it sounds like he's going to be back in the lineup, and possibly even the return of Sal Frelick, who just hit a home run the other night for Nashville. Pat Murphy saying he potentially could return this week to the ball club too. So getting a couple players back into that lineup, even with just Frelick, maybe just from a chemistry and vibe personality, to have him back in that dugout could be a nice little boost to the club. But I want these guys. I want Cooper Pratt back too, so we're not plugging all these different dudes. No offense to Andrew Vaughn and that, but I want to get back to a normal lineup here for a little bit. But I mean, just if you could use one word to describe this weekend series from the Brewers, what would that word be? Impressive, grindy. I mean,
grindy, I think would be probably a great word for it. I mean, because this was the end of their 17-17 stretch as well.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to grind out 3 wins against the titan of baseball that is the Dodgers, that's impressive. Especially like you said with their lineup. Yesterday was one of the funniest lineups I've ever seen them throw out there.
I know. I don't want to ever see a lineup again with Sanchez at first and Vaughn at third and Bowers in right field, but somehow they got that thing done. And then you essentially, so I know some people are like, well, how did they trade for somebody? The guy was in AAA minor league, so that's kind of, I know the trade deadline passed, but it was a minor league, and then they promoted him to the 40-man. So there's loopholes to that. But I mean, and then essentially putting in a AAA guy to get you a start at second base to get through this thing. I mean, they're just plugging away, plugging some holes and trying to get through this thing. And they're doing a fantastic job with it. And you just, I don't know if it's like destiny or what, but this Brewers team, I don't know how many other ball clubs in Major League Baseball can get away with doing some of the stuff that they're doing. Is it straight up Pat Murphy? Is it the culture? Is it, I don't know what it is, really. It's just, how many other teams can do this?
I feel like Murphy and the culture has to be part of it, because I remember last year, I think it was game 6 against the Dodgers of the regular season, they threw out some random, I cannot tell you probably 3 names of people that were on that team, because they were all gone after last year. But even Murphy said, like, I don't know if their fans could name half of the people that we had playing today, and the Brewers still got it done. So yeah. I think it is, Murphy and the culture. I think people want to be here. I mean, you heard Mizorowski say we're a team to be reckoned with after his performance. You heard Logan Henderson, he, like, after the trade deadline passed and he wasn't dealt, he thanked Matt Arnold and he said, like, I am a Brewer. Like, he wants to be here. I think people want to be here and they want to play for Murphy, and I think they like this little team that could almost kind of narrative surrounding them.
Right, exactly. And if you want to get a little riled up and buy into power rankings, you can go to MLB.com. And in their latest power rankings, they still have the Dodgers as the number 1 team. And I will say this, I don't like to criticize a lot of fellow media peeps, but the write-up is not that, I mean, it doesn't make the case, because he says, Will Leach says, please, Brewers fans, we know Milwaukee has the best record in baseball, and we understand that you are probably mad right now that your team is number 2 in these power rankings, despite just winning 3 out of 4 at Dodger Stadium. Fortunately, home field advantage is not determined by MLB.com power rankings. It's determined by the best record, which the Brewers have, as well as a tiebreaker with the season series over the Dodgers, if it happens to come to that. That's all he wrote. So it's like, doesn't that make the case for being the top team?
Yeah, you're saying like home field advantage doesn't play a factor. They had home field advantage and we still beat them.
Right.
And then Brewers, you have the best record and tied for the best run differential with the Dodgers. You just took 3 of 4 from them. Dodgers are like 5-5 in their last 10 and they get the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
I was sure there was no way the Dodgers would still be number 1 in power rankings after this week.
Yep. And all they did right about the Dodgers was the struggles of Kyle Tucker. Not even making the case why, number 1. So, again, it's just power rankings. I get that, but it's like, okay, just add a little bit more fuel to the fire. Let's keep it going, I guess. But it's such a fun team to watch. It is such a hodge. No offense to the players, but like it's such a hodgepodge of guys and just plug it in there and they just go out there and ball and they get the job done. I mean, and also Contreras batting leadoff yesterday. Yeah, when I saw him, like, oh, we're doing this again, like just first time, and yeah, we're gonna plug him at the leadoff spot. I'm like, okay, I don't know if they like draw the names out of a hat at this point. We used to do that in slow pitch softball beer league when we were in a little bit of a funk. You throw the names in a hat and just pull cards or something. But Contreras batting leadoff and all this fun. I mean, it was nuts, and they're still getting it done.
Sometimes it seems like Murphy does just draw out of a hat who's leading off. It's really funny to watch, but I mean, hey, whatever works.
Yeah. As Mike just texted, I swear the Brewers are drawing cards right now for positions in a lineup. As long as it's working, let's roll with it. Go Crew. Continue to send us your thoughts, Brewers fans, on the Crew in this weekend series, with the Dodgers taking 3 out of 4. We'll talk some more Brewers coming up here with an eye towards the final quarter of this regular season for the Brewers and for Major League Baseball. So we'll hit that up coming up after these quick words. When it comes to feeding your family, quality matters. And for great tasting meats, you don't have to look any further than Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From fresh cuts of beef and pork to delicious brats, steaks, and all of your favorites for the grill, Mike's Star Market brings you the quality and service that you expect from a true local butcher shop. Whether you're firing up the grill, planning a family meal, or stocking up the freezer, stop by Mike's Star Market and experience the difference of shopping local. Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire, quality meats, hometown service, and a tradition that you can taste. Bo says fantastic is how he would describe the series win for the Brew Crew this past weekend against the Dodgers. Now that's it's kind of an off day. Well, it is an off day today here for the Brewers. And numbers-wise, we're going to say we're entering the final quarter of this regular season now for the Brew Crew. So with an eye on to the rest of the schedule here, because we got the rest of this month and just September. It's hard to believe, but that's where we're at here. We're going to be cruising through this thing. They don't have the Dodgers anymore. They have the tiebreaker, which is the other part of a big thing. I know it probably didn't really matter last year, but still, every year is a little bit different here. But kind of looking at the rest of the schedule here for the Brewers, they've got the Mariners coming up for a 3-game series, a Mariners team that is fighting for a playoff spot. And then you got the Braves, a tough matchup here, all at American Family Field. And then they'll hit the road to take on the Mets, Rangers, and then they visit the Cubbies to close out the end of the month for 4 games at Wrigley Field. And then quick series with the Reds and then the Cubs. So they got 7 more games against the Cubbies here. Just kind of looking at some other playoff teams. They've got 3 games on the road against the Phillies as well. So, but overall, I mean, just from a schedule standpoint, Mariners, Braves, Mets, Rangers, and then, those 7 games against the Cubs and Reds. Dare I say it's pretty favorable for the Brewers? I mean, yes, there's tough matchups. You got 7 games against the Cubbies here, but I mean, the way the Brewers have played this year, that should be a schedule, because I think now the main thing outside of health, can you get some momentum riding into the postseason here?
Yeah, you need to make the most out of this like Mariners, Mets, and Rangers series for sure, because, you got the Orioles. And we don't know what the Cardinals are going to look like late September, but that the Cubs are going to be trying their hardest. Yep. The Reds probably won't lay down, and the Pirates they always seem to play spoiler, or at least spoil the Brewers' momentum.
Yeah.
Also, I got a bone to pick with whatever machine or person did this schedule. Why are the Brewers facing the Cubs in like a 16-16 again? I think they play 16 games in 16 days, and they get the Cubs at the end of that. That just seems that doesn't sit right with me, but
yeah,
it is what I think. It's all done with a computer, so
probably. I would think so. I can't see somebody that just literally sits there at a table and,
there used to be a couple.
Used to be, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you're right too. The Cardinals in that final 3-game series, depending on how everything shakes up, it wouldn't surprise me if the Cardinals try to play spoiler at that point too. But nonetheless, I mean, you enter this final quarter of the regular season, 77 wins. I don't think this really matters to the Brewers, but can they win 21 more games and set another franchise record for most wins in a season? They did it last year. I don't think there's anything that I've seen so far that could say, no, they're not going to. Again, I know that's not the main thing here, but to me, it's just going down this stretch. Can you stay healthy? Can those pitchers, still stay fresh as possible? Riding that momentum into it. You're going to get Terang back. We're going to get Cooper Pratt back. We're going to get Sal Frelick back. We're getting these guys back in the fray. Uribe's he's on the injured list here, but it doesn't sound too serious. So he's going to be coming back. I don't know. I'm liking where this team's at. I know they're battling through these injuries, but they're getting through it. They're still winning games, and these guys are all coming back here fairly soon. So man, it's hard not to get on that train. Like, let's go. Let's flip and do this thing right now.
Well, so the best thing is you look at the next 3 games. It's the Mariners, and fighting for a playoff spot, yes, but you should have Dustin May, who has looked incredible in a Brewers uniform, and Kyle Harrison in that series, who hopefully can clean up his West Coast issues. But then against the Braves, you should have Miz and Henderson back for those final 2 games. So that is, and again, we've talked about it a lot. Brewers 41-21 over teams 500 and 41-22 at home, and that's a home series. So that favors the Brewers pretty well.
Yep. I mean, you talk about a team that again we're going to be talking about seeding in the National League playoffs for that home field advantage throughout, and a lot of teams. I mean, the Braves are right there too with a really good home record. That's going to be a battle to where Brewers right now. I mean, yeah, they're 10 games over 500 on the road, but I'd rather have that home series. Any team would rather have that home, and I think it's going to be really important down the stretch between the Brewers and the Braves and the Dodgers. And I'm not going to overlook the Cubs. I know Cubs are 5 games back, but when you still got 7 games against the Cubbies on the schedule here, don't overlook them, because, like you said, they're probably going to be a little bit extra dialed in to that series coming up here. Well, at the end of the month, the first of 7 games here. But there's something about this Brewers team again. Like, is it straight up the vibe, Pat Murphy, that clubhouse, like how these guys just kind of rise to the occasion, rise to the challenge. You just hopefully now that becomes the case when it gets to the postseason. That they can kind of continue this path, this momentum, or whatever you want to use to describe it, because gosh darn it, when you win 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers with a hodgepodge lineup, it's hard not to really buy in and like, okay, I'm ready. I'm maybe ready to be heartbroken or really ecstatic when it comes to October and November.
And I'm hoping that, because I think like with getting those reinforcements, it feels like Frelick was playing with a little bit of an injury all season. I hope that he's finally fully healthy, because getting his bat back to last year's caliber, where he's hitting around 280, would be such a help for this team.
Right.
And you'd have somebody just to hit leadoff.
I know, like if Frelick could get to what he was last year, I wish he would have batted leadoff more last year. Just he did it quite a bit, but I mean, that 280, that speed, he's not a big power guy. He's just going to get you on base. And I mean, setting a tone that way and just kind of following. I mean, then I think it really sets your lineup a little bit better, where you're not plugging in a Contreras or a Chirio or a Terang. You could have a little stability at the top front.
Yelich.
Yeah, or Yelich either too. So it just, I don't know if they would give that opportunity to him right away, but that would just be. I like that if it could get to that last year. Then you can have Frelick, probably Chirio if they go lefty righty, Terang, then Contreras maybe, and then Bauer and then some maybe Vaughn, and then I don't know where Yelich is in that lineup at this point in time, but
should be down at the 6 or the 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but and I actually had to look it up too. I'm like, is he maybe hurt, or are they just not putting him in the lineup, or But I think it's at that point, if you're not going to produce, man, sorry. And I know there was video that he was taking grounders at first yesterday, but apparently it was just because he didn't even have a first baseman's glove on. He had his outfield glove on, so he wasn't like actually practicing to be at first, which they don't need another first baseman. They got a couple already. And then Sanchez is the third option, which we still don't want to see. But, hey, if it means trying to get as many hot bats in that lineup, you got to do so at this point in time. But is it still the big question? Is the thing that's going to hold the Brewers back from a World Series or a deep postseason run, or taking over the Dodgers in the postseason, is it going to come down to the home run ball again?
It probably will.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, like in that, I saw something that really kind of did put it in perspective for me. Like the Brewers are really, really good at, stringing hits together, maybe working a few walks. And you saw this against Yamamoto. It doesn't work against the elite pitchers.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But I say that, but now Bowers has seemed to, his bat has come alive. You do have Gary, who you can throw in there in a pinch. Vaughn hasn't really had the power aspect this year that much, but there are maybe a few more better hitters this year. Joey Ortiz, at least going into the game, apparently he had the best OPS since July 4th. I don't know if after yesterday that still stands, but that's something to look at. Maybe there's a little bit more this year, but I think it will be a big power aspect, a big power question in October.
Yeah, you're right about Vaughn. He's got 5 home runs, but he's batting .300 this year. I think he was kind of viewed as, okay, he's going to provide a little bit more power this year, but hasn't been there, but at least he's getting some big hits. Nobody had it on their bingo card that Jake Bowers was going to be doing what he's doing this year. And, again, I will say if he's not putting up the numbers that he's putting up, maybe we're not talking about a first-place Brewers team. And it wasn't the power from him yesterday. It was just, singles and getting on base. And you're right. I do wonder, depending on who they go up pitching-wise, if you've got that pitcher who's just dialed in and where you're not able to work up the pitch count, because they got Skubal up to a pitch count early on in that game yesterday. Yeah. And then he settled down, but then that final inning for him, it kind of racked up there again. If they go up against a pitcher who's just hitting the corners and hitting the zone and they're not able to work that count, then I think the Brewers are going to be in trouble in that, depending on who they go up against. So, and we don't know, obviously, that at this point in time, but I think that's going to be the big problem. And if it is the Dodgers, they're probably going to get healthier again like they did last year when it comes to some of their pitchers, but we'll take it what we can right now. And that was factoring into that Padres series after getting swept. And even that Twin series beforehand where it was just a grind to win that series. To take 3 out of 4 with this lineup, you take that, man. Yeah, you take that.
It's just thinking about the Dodgers, it's so unfair that you might be facing either Blake Snell or Glasnow out of their bullpen.
Yeah.
Because you think if Shohei starts pitching, you have Shohei, Skubal, Yamamoto, and then I'd assume Snell. Mm-hmm. And then you're facing Glasnow and Sasaki out of their bullpen. That's unfair.
Yeah.
Also, I want to, really quick, I want to highlight Vaughn, even though he doesn't have the home run numbers, 847 OPS. Mm-hmm. So he's still getting it done.
Yeah.
Just with more doubles this year.
For his speed, too, the fact that he's gotten those doubles, that's pretty impressive. So, really quick, Brewers pitchers versus these Dodgers in the series. Ohtani was just 3 for 15, 5 strikeouts. Freeman 0 for 11, 2 strikeouts. Mookie Betts 2 for 13, 3 strikeouts. Tucker 0 for 11, 3 strikeouts in this series too. So, but the big ones for me were the Ohtani and the Freeman and Mizorowski. I feel like Freeman has burned the Brewers how many times over the years, and
yeah, him not getting a hit is impressive.
I know, right? So
don't look up Max Muncy's stats against
No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to look up Max Muncy. So that's giving me flashbacks of David Freese in 11 for the Cardinals. Third baseman just raking against the Brewers. All right, we got to take our final break here as we wrap up the first hour. Plenty more to get to coming up after these quick words. Nobody plans for an accident, but when the unexpected happens, you want a team that you can trust. And at Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, they are proud to be locally owned and operated, providing quality collision repair and hometown service to drivers throughout the Chippewa Valley. Their experienced team takes pride in every repair, treating your vehicle with the same care and attention that they would give their own. When you need collision repair that you could count on, choose the people who live and work right here in your community. Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, locally owned, locally trusted, and here to get you back on the road. Let me ask this. Do you think, now, it won't happen, but do you think Jacob Mizorowski should get more attention for MVP?
Yes, 100%. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the only pitcher, at least starter, qualified with the sub-2 ERA. Most strikeouts, I think, by a healthy margin.
Yep.
He has been clearly impactful to this team's success.
Yeah.
I think he should.
Yeah, number 1 in ERA, number 1 in Ks, number 1 in WHIP. Doesn't have the most wins, which, I mean, he's 12-5, and Sanchez has 15 wins. But I think we are at the point that we know wins for starting pitchers and losses aren't really the be-all, tell-all stats anymore when it comes to these pitchers. So, I know it's tough for a starting pitcher to win MVP. I don't know who's the last. I have to look up who the last
Kershaw?
one. Well, that's what I was wondering if it was Kershaw. But when I look at an MVP, yeah, you take that guy away, and how different is the team? And I think when you look at the impact that Mizorowski has had this year, 100%. I think, and I'm not counting Ohtani as MVP because it was great for the pitcher starting pitcher to win. He's a different breed.
Hitting, yeah.
Is it so? Oh man, we got to go down a little bit, don't we?
It's been a long time. Kershaw right here, 2014.
Wow. Josh Donaldson, I forgot he won an MVP. Former Brewer great Josh Donaldson. Good Lord. Wow. Yeah, and then Verlander won it in 11, which, I mean, yeah, those probably would be the last two to win it. So it's not going to happen, but I think, yeah, he probably deserves. I wonder what the latest odds are for. It's probably going to be Pete Crow Armstrong at this point.
It's Armstrong and Ohtani.
Pretty much those two. Which
is funny that it's Pete Crow Armstrong considering his team's not even leading their division. Like, I wonder how do you give an MVP award to a team that came in second place in their division?
Right. That's where I have problems with MVP awards. You might as well just call it like best stats or some different name than MVP, than most valuable. Like, I get it, Ohtani, because of offense and, what he provides from a pitching aspect too. And he's missed some time. He's been down and all that jazz. But the MVP to me, and regardless if it's, football, it's pretty much the best quarterback, unless you get a running back that even Saquon didn't win it. But unless you get like an Adrian Peterson type that did it in 07, it's the best quarterback, and NBA's kind of weird where it's like, well, once you win it almost 2 or 3 times in a row, you can't get it anymore because voters want to go a different direction.
But even in the NFL, it's not always best quarterback because, 1 year Lamar had it over Josh Allen, and you could argue Allen had a better season. The next season they gave it to Josh, even though Lamar had better stats. And the 1 year Burrow had like the triple crown, and they didn't give it to him because the Bengals was so bad, basically. They couldn't justify giving it to him. So it's really weird. I do not like the MVP. It's just basically best quarterback at this point.
Right, yeah. It's like, quarterback and then everybody. I mean, even J.J. Watt finishing second to Rodgers, the 1 year. And I think that was, if the Texans maybe got in the playoffs, that might have changed. But, I mean, even the bar is so high. And I get it. Quarterback is the most important position and maybe of all the sports. And there's a lot on that shoulders. But even like a couple years ago, I thought Saquon had a really legit shot to win it.
Rush for 2,000 yards
and not win it.
Yeah,
I couldn't get over that. So, but no, I think Miz should get a little bit more talk. He won't win it, but I would think that he's the clear-cut favorite for the Cy Young. I know some people are saying, well, the wins and Sanchez, but I mean, again, I think what we've seen over the years with the Cy Young Award winner, I think the voters have kind of eased up on that. I mean, like DeGrom won it with a 500 record or something like that. It was like a 500 record. So, now Chris Sale's the second best odds. Oh, okay. And then Sanchez. Yeah, it's like Mizorowski's to lose at this point. he'd have to go on some sort of like awful binge, or knock on wood, get hurt. Don't get hurt. Yeah, don't get hurt. So Pete Crow, okay, Ohtani, Yordan Alvarez. That's the other thing too, is like Houston's in a dogfight to try just to make the playoffs and lead their division. But I get it, numbers wise, he's putting up a ton. But still, I don't know. Kind of weird, but all right. Plenty more baseball talk coming your way. How would you describe this weekend for the Brew Crew? You can let us know. Hit us up, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or hang out in the Section 105 chat. You can also give us your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Send those on over too. Reminder, coming up at about 9 o'clock, we'll wrap up the Eau Claire Express season. Owner Craig Toyson will be joining us in studio, and we'll put a bow on a very successful Eau Claire Express season. So we got that coming up. And then coming up next hour, we'll get into some Packers training camp talk, the latest in Green Bay. Packers practicing again yesterday. Tucker Kraft returning to team drills 11 on 11. So welcome sight there as he continues to progress, and I would say right on path to start week one for the Packers. So welcome sight there, no question about it. But we're going to talk a little bit about the cornerback competition and Keyshawn Nixon with some comments in the locker room yesterday to the media, saying he believes he's being punished because he's not guaranteed a spot or even repping with the twos, and there was even at times he was repping with the threes, the number 3 defense. So we'll kind of go through that position group and get you updated on the latest and greatest from Packers training camp so far. Packers will be back on the field for a preseason game this Friday night as they will travel to Denver to take on the Broncos. And then the final preseason game already just next weekend when the Cardinals come over to town and have some joint practice. And then the only Lambeau Field preseason game will be next Friday night. So, and then we are on to the regular season. Packers did make a roster move, though, maybe a kind of a surprise, but they released their 4-string quarterback, a quarterback that they picked up after the draft, an undrafted free agent, Drones, getting released. And, I mean, maybe a little bit of surprise because he seemed to be Packers really liked him throughout the draft process. That they brought him in right away. And then after one game, preseason game, which wasn't great, Packers moving on from him. And Matt LaFleur said yesterday it was a straight-up football decision because it's hard to get 4 quarterbacks plenty of snaps. And with what Kyle McCord did in that preseason game, it's probably, probably like, okay, that makes sense because Kyle McCord actually did look like he belonged out on that field. So I still don't think Green Bay is going to carry through quarterbacks. It might be a practice squad thing, but we'll kind of hit that up coming up here in the final or in the second hour. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off. So continue to send us your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. We'll get to some of those coming up in the next hour. Also, recapping the Brewers, the one word or phrase that you would use to describe this weekend for the Brew Crew. And what do you think heading into the final quarter of this regular season for the Brewers? Outside of maybe just health, what's the biggest thing that's, and outside of wins, of course, but the biggest thing that you're going to be following, paying attention, or you want to see from the Brewers in this final quarter of the regular season? We'll hit all that up, but we'll kick off the second hour chatting some Packers football as we'll talk kind of mostly on the cornerback group. We'll be right back after these news updates.